The ice of Europa cracked and groaned as Captain Alex Nelson led his team across the frozen surface. 8 members of Earth Defense Force's 7th Special Operations Group moved in perfect formation, their white environmental suits blending with the icy landscape. Their mission was simple: investigate strange energy readings coming from beneath the moon's thick ice shell. 2 more clicks to the anomaly site, Alex said into his comm. The words appeared as text on everyone's helmet display. Sound didn't travel well in Europa's thin atmosphere, and radio silence was standard procedure even though they believed they were alone. No human had ever detected alien life in the solar system before. That was about to change. Movement at 2 o'clock, said Lisa Brown, the team's sniper. Her voice was calm, as if reporting nothing more unusual than a weather change. Alex raised his hand, and the entire team froze in place. Through his enhanced visor, he spotted them, figures moving with an unnatural gait across the ice. They weren't human. Hold position, weapons ready, but do not fire unless I give the order, Alex commanded. His heart raced, but years of training kept his voice steady. The alien figures approached with confidence. There were 20 of them, moving in a loose formation that any human commander would consider sloppy. Their bodies were covered in some kind of armor that reflected Europa's dim light. As they got closer, Alex could make out their features: reptilian with elongated heads and powerful limbs. First contact situation, Alex said to his team. Remember your training. The protocol was clear. Attempt peaceful communication first. Alex stepped forward, hands visible, rifle magnetically attached to his back. He activated his suit's external speakers. We come in peace, we are explorers from Earth. The lead alien stopped. For a moment, Alex thought communication might be possible. Then the alien raised what was unmistakably a weapon. The ice beside Alex erupted as energy scorched through where he had stood a split second before. His training kicked in automatically. He dropped to one knee, unslinging his rifle in one smooth motion. Hostile contact, defensive positions, he shouted. The human operators reacted instantly. Within 3 seconds, they had formed a defensive perimeter, using ice formations as cover. The aliens seemed surprised by the speed of the response. They hesitated, which was all the advantage the humans needed. Lisa fired first. Her shot struck the lead alien in the junction between its helmet and body armor. The creature fell without a sound. They're Draxians, said Eric Foster, the team's intelligence specialist. Somehow he was already analyzing data from his suit sensors while returning fire. Matches intelligence reports from deep space monitoring. They're mercenaries. Alex didn't waste time wondering how Eric knew this or why alien mercenaries would attack a human expedition. Those questions could wait. Right now, his team was outnumbered and facing unknown technology. Charlie pattern, Alex ordered. The team immediately understood. They'd practiced this maneuver countless times, split into 3 fire teams, create multiple angles of attack, confuse the enemy. The Draxians responded by spreading out, but their movements lacked the fluid coordination of the human operators. They relied on their superior numbers and technology, firing weapons that shot bursts of blue energy. Private Sam Collins wasn't fast enough. A blue burst caught him directly in the chest. His suit ruptured, and the extreme cold of Europa did the rest. He was dead before he hit the ice. Man down, reported Sergeant Greg Martinez, his voice tight but controlled. There was no time for grief in battle. Alex assessed the situation rapidly. The aliens had better weapons but poor tactics. They didn't use cover effectively and seemed, unused to fighting in low gravity. Switch to thermal rounds, Alex ordered. The team's weapons adjusted instantly. Their next shots produced small explosions that superheated the ice beneath the aliens' feet. In Europa's low gravity, several Draxians were thrown off balance. Lisa didn't miss a shot. Each time an alien stumbled, her bullet found a vulnerable point in their armor. 4 more went down in quick succession. The aliens began to fall back, clearly surprised by the effectiveness of the human response. But retreat wasn't in their nature. Instead, they regrouped and charged forward together. Frag pattern now, Alex shouted. His team responded by throwing specialized grenades that exploded into thousands of razor-sharp fragments. In the low gravity, the fragments spread in a wider pattern than on Earth, creating a deadly cloud that shredded 3 more aliens. Lieutenant Ben Hayes moved too far from cover. A blue energy burst caught him in the leg. He fell but continued, firing from the ground. Another burst hit him in the helmet, the second human casualty. "They're trying to flank us," Martinez warned. Alex nodded. "Fall back to position Bravo." The human team began a fighting retreat, moving toward a ridge that would provide better cover. They moved as one organism, each operator covering the others, firing precisely and economically. The Draxians pursued but seemed confused by the humans' tactics. When the aliens bunched up to press their advantage, Alex's team focused fire on single targets. When the aliens spread out, the humans picked them off individually. "They don't understand pack tactics," Lisa observed as she reloaded. "They fight, like solo predators." Alex realized she was right. The aliens didn't support each other. Each fought as an individual, seeking individual glory. It was their weakness. "Focus on their leader," Alex ordered. The team identified the Draxian commander by its elaborate helmet crest. 6 operators turned their fire on it simultaneously. The alien's armor, impressive as it was, couldn't withstand the concentrated barrage. It fell, and immediate confusion spread through the remaining Draxians. 3 more aliens went down in quick succession. The remaining 5 began a disorganized retreat. "Should we pursue?" Martinez asked. Alex shook his head. "Negative. Secure our position and establish a perimeter." The battle had lasted less than 15 minutes. 2 humans dead, against 17 alien mercenaries. The ice around them was scorched and bloody, the first battlefield between humans and extraterrestrials in history. As the Draxians disappeared over the horizon, likely heading for a hidden ship, Alex knelt beside his fallen comrades. "Plot their retreat vector," he ordered softly, "and get me a secure line to Earth Command." The team moved with somber efficiency, securing the area and collecting alien weapons for study. They'd been surprised but not defeated. The aliens had clearly expected easy prey and found something else entirely. On the Draxian ship, Commander Krelthak nursed a wound in his arm as he prepared his report. These humans were not the primitive species his employers had described. They fought with coordinated precision he'd never encountered in his long career. Most disturbing of all, he'd seen one of them, the female sniper, actually smile during combat. "The humans fight unlike any species we've encountered," he wrote. "They don't flee when outgunned. They adapt rapidly, and most disturbing of all, they seem to enjoy the challenge." He added a final recommendation: avoid direct engagement with human special forces at all costs. Earth Command would receive Alex's report within the hour. The Galactic Consortium would receive Krelthak's warning too late. The wheels of interstellar conflict were already turning, and humanity's reputation was about to spread across the stars. 6 months passed since the first battle on Europa. Earth's governments had worked together in secret to prepare for what they now knew was coming. The planet wasn't alone in the universe, and the first aliens they'd met were hostile. Lieutenant. Kate Reeves checked her equipment one final time as the stealth transport settled on the rusty Martian surface. Her 12-person team was the best Earth had to offer. Elite operators pulled from special forces units around the world. "Comm check," Kate whispered. One by one, her team confirmed their systems were working. The mission was supposed to be simple reconnaissance. Intelligence from captured Draxian technology suggested that alien mercenaries had established a forward base near Mars's southern pole. Kate's team needed to confirm this and gather information about the enemy's strength and plans. "Remember, we observe only," Kate said. "No engagement unless absolutely necessary." Sergeant Paul Wright, her second-in-command, nodded. 6 hours in and out, simple. Kate knew better. In her 10 years of special operations, no mission had ever been simple. The team moved across the Martian landscape in pairs, using the natural ravines and rock formations for cover. Their suits were designed to mask heat signatures and blend with the red planet's surface. To most sensors, they would appear as nothing more than oddly shaped rocks. 3 hours into the mission, private, Olivia Grant froze and raised her fist, the signal to stop. Through her enhanced visor, Kate saw what had alarmed Olivia. Ahead of them, a massive alien figure moved between boulders. It was at least 8 feet tall, with arms as thick as tree trunks. Vulgar, Paul whispered through the comm. Heavy muscle, for hire, not very smart but incredibly strong. Kate signaled for the team to hold position. Where there was one alien mercenary, there would be more. She needed to assess the situation before proceeding. The decision was taken from her when a different kind of alien seemed to materialize from the shadows near Private Jeff Rice. This one was humanoid, but impossibly thin, with skin that shifted, color to match its surroundings. Jeff never saw it coming. The alien's clawed hand struck with lightning speed, tearing through his suit. The team's medic, Corporal Linda Wilson, moved immediately to help, but Kate held up her hand. Jeff was already dead, his body going limp as Mars' thin atmosphere rushed. Into his punctured suit, Nick Shadowwalker, Paul identified. Stealth specialists, their cover blown, Kate had to make a choice: retreat to the transport or press forward. Standard procedure would be to fall back and report what they'd found, but retreating across open terrain with stealth aliens hunting them would be suicide. We go forward, Kate decided. Into their base. Paul looked at her like she was crazy. Into the lion's den? There could be hundreds of them. Exactly, they won't expect it. Kate switched her rifle to active mode. They'll waste time searching the area where they found us. Meanwhile, we find what we came for and maybe a way to hurt them in the process. The team moved quickly now, no longer trying to avoid detection but instead racing toward the enemy stronghold. Satellite imagery had shown unusual structures built into a crater wall. That had to be their destination. When they crested a ridge overlooking the crater, Kate's breath caught in her throat. The forward base was much more than intelligence had suggested. A small city of alien structures spread before them, with landing pads for ships and defensive perimeters. There must be at least 200 mercenaries down there, Linda whispered. Kate nodded. And we're going in. New mission parameters. Gather all possible intelligence on alien tech and capabilities, and if possible, create a diversion for our escape. The team used a network of natural caves to approach the base from below. The aliens had built their structures over these caves, never suspecting they might be used against them. Poor tactical awareness, Kate noted. The aliens were overconfident. Their environmental system, said Corporal Joe Clark, the team's engineer. He pointed to large humming machines. They're terraforming this small area to suit their biology. Different atmospheric mix, higher humidity? Kate smiled. Can you shut it down? Joe studied the machinery. Better, I can reverse it. Pump in Martian air instead. Do it. While Joe worked, the rest of the team spread through the base's lower levels. They photographed alien technology, downloaded data from unguarded terminals, and planted small tracking devices on ships and equipment. Private Alan Peters found the armory. Lieutenant, you need to see this. The weapons cache was impressive, energy rifles similar to those the Draxians had used on Europa, but also heavier weapons that could devastate Earth cities. Tag them all, Kate ordered. Earth Command needs to know what we're facing. The mission was going smoothly. Too smoothly. Kate should have known their luck wouldn't hold. A patrol of Vulgars entered the lower level, led by a Draxian commander. The aliens spotted Linda before she could hide. Humans, the Draxian shouted in its guttural language, which their translation software interpreted. Kate's team reacted instantly. Linda fired first, her bullet striking the Draxian's throat. The Vulgars roared and charged forward, their huge bodies filling the narrow corridor. Fall back to Junction B, Kate ordered. The team retreated in perfect coordination, each member covering the others. The aliens pursued, but the narrow tunnels worked against them. The massive Vulgars could barely fit, having to turn sideways in some passages. Kate saw their advantage and exploited it. Funnel them to the eastern tunnel. The team led the pursuing aliens into increasingly narrow passages, where the humans' smaller size gave them maneuverability that the bulky Vulgars lacked. When a group of 5 aliens became wedged in a tight corridor, Kate's team eliminated them with precise shots to vulnerable areas their armor didn't cover. Alarms blared throughout the base. Kate knew their time was running short. Joe, status, on the environmental system? Ready to go, Joe replied. On your command. More aliens poured into the tunnel network. These were Nick's shadow walkers, nearly invisible until they moved. Private Sam Young died when one materialized behind him. Corporal Maria Lopez was next, her throat slashed by claws she never saw coming. Kate switched her visor to thermal imaging. The Nicks might be able to change color, but they couldn't hide their heat signatures. Everyone thermal view now. The tide turned immediately. The Nicks, used to relying on their camouflage, found themselves visible to the humans. Kate's team cut them down with methodical precision. Now Joe, Kate shouted as they fought their way toward the exit tunnel. Joe triggered his sabotage program. Throughout the base, environmental systems reversed their function. Thin, cold Martian air flooded into areas designed for alien biology. The effect was immediate. Aliens gasped and clutched their throats, their bodies not adapted for Mars' natural atmosphere. The confusion gave Kate's team the opening they needed. They fought their way out of the tunnels, leaving behind them a base in chaos. Private Frank Lee fell to an energy blast just 20 meters from freedom. When Sergeant Paul Wright stopped to help him, a Draxian sniper took advantage. Paul died instantly, the back of his helmet exploding from the impact. When the remaining 8 members of Kate's team finally reached their transport, they carried with them terabytes of critical intelligence and samples of alien technology. The mission had cost them 4 lives, but the aliens had lost 43 fighters, mostly to their own environment after Joe's sabotage. As the transport lifted off, Kate looked down at the alien base. Black smoke poured from ventilation shafts. Emergency craft were landing to evacuate survivors. They weren't ready for us, Linda said quietly. Kate nodded. They never are. Back on their ship, a wounded Draxian commander reviewed security footage of the human attack. These weren't random soldiers. They moved like elite warriors, yet employed tactics no civilized species would use. The humans had turned the base's life support against its inhabitants, a savage strategy no mercenary would consider. Most disturbing of all, the Draxian noted, was the female human leader. When surrounded and outnumbered, facing certain death, she had shown no fear. Instead, she had smiled, as if she welcomed the challenge. The commander added a new warning to the mercenary. Networks. Humans don't fight by any rules we understand. They improvise weapons from their environment. They continue fighting when logically they should surrender. And most disturbingly, they smile during combat. Word spread quickly among the stars. Human special forces were unlike anything the galaxy's hired guns had faced before. And they were just getting started. 2 years had passed since the first alien encounter on Europa. Earth had changed. The existence of hostile aliens was now public knowledge, and humanity had united in ways previously thought impossible. Old enemies became allies against a common threat from the stars. Commander Jake Sullivan stood in the briefing room of the Orbital Station Defender, looking at the 40 men and women of the newly formed Orbital Drop Shock Division. They were the best of the best, veterans of the Europa and Mars engagements, plus elite operators from every nation on Earth. Titan is our target, Jake said, pointing to the holographic display of Saturn's largest moon. Intelligence confirms. The aliens have established a major staging area there. 4 species working together: Draxians, Vulgars, Nicks, and a new player, the Kavari. The image shifted to show insect-like creatures with multiple limbs and compound eyes. Kavari are hive-minded. Tacticians, Jake continued. They communicate telepathically within their units and adapt quickly. They're coordinating this coalition, which makes them the priority target. Sergeant Amy Carter raised her hand. Sir, what's the insertion plan? Titan's atmosphere will make conventional landing difficult. Jake smiled. That's why we're not using conventional methods. We're dropping in. The room fell silent. Everyone understood what he meant. The experimental orbital drop pods were barely tested and had a 30% failure rate, but they were also undetectable by alien sensors. Our intel suggests they're planning a major strike against our lunar colonies, Jake said. We have no choice but to hit them first. He looked at each face in the room. These soldiers knew the odds. The alien coalition had technology centuries beyond Earth's capabilities. Their weapons could vaporize tanks. Their ships could outrun anything humans had built. But still no one looked away. No one asked to be relieved of duty. Gear up. We drop. In 6 hours, Jake said. The preparation was silent and methodical. Each operator checked and rechecked their equipment, helped their teammates with hard-to-reach seals, and loaded specialized ammunition designed to work in Titan's methane-rich atmosphere. Jake watched his team with pride. Humanity had been fighting itself for most of its history. Now, faced with an external threat, humans had revealed their true nature: adaptable, innovative, and impossibly stubborn. "Commander," said Lieutenant Rick Cooper, the team's intel officer, "new data from our probes. The aliens have installed atmospheric jammers. Our comms won't work once we're down." Jake nodded. This was expected. "We'll use hand signals and laser pointers, just like we practiced." 5 hours later, 40 drop pods launched from the Defender, accelerating toward Titan. From the outside, they looked like small meteors, common enough in Saturn's system to avoid detection. Jake felt his pod heat up as it entered Titan's thick atmosphere. Warning lights flashed as temperature sensors approached their limits. The experimental heat shields were being tested in real conditions for the first time. Through his small viewport, Jake watched as one pod to his right suddenly flared brightly and disintegrated. First casualty, before they even landed. His own pod slammed into Titan's surface with enough force to knock him unconscious for a few seconds. When he came to, emergency oxygen was hissing into his suit. The pod had cracked on impact. Jake hit the emergency release and forced the door open. Titan's landscape was eerily beautiful: orange haze, liquid methane rivers, and in the distance, the unmistakable geometry of alien structures. Jake checked his heads-up display. 35 pods were transmitting status signals. 5 had failed. Their operators lost. Jake used laser signals to gather his team. They assembled silently, using hand gestures to communicate their plan. The alien base was 2 kilometers away, its defense perimeter glowing with energy shields. As they approached, Jake noted something strange. The aliens had built pressurized domes to maintain their preferred environments, but there were gaps in the security systems, as if they never expected an attack on Titan. Overconfidence, Jake thought. Their weakness. The human operators split into 5 teams and approached from different angles. Jake led Alpha Team toward what sensors identified as the command center. They were halfway there when everything went wrong. Jake's rifle suddenly powered down. All his team's weapons did the same. Some unknown energy field had neutralized their primary firearms. In the distance, alarms wailed. They'd been detected. Jake signaled to switch to backup weapons. Simple ballistic firearms with minimal electronics. Old technology, but reliable. The first wave of defenders emerged from the base. Vulgars charging like angry bulls. The human operators met them with disciplined fire, aiming for the gaps in their heavy armor. It was like shooting elephants with pistols. Some Vulgars fell, but others kept coming despite multiple wounds. They reached the human lines and combat became hand-to-hand. Private Steve Hill was caught by a Vulgar's massive arms. The alien squeezed and Steve's ribs cracked audibly. But instead of surrendering, Steve pulled a combat knife and drove it repeatedly into the Vulgar's neck. Both of them collapsed, neither to rise again. Jake signaled a tactical retreat. The team fell back, drawing the pursuing Vulgars into a narrow ravine. There, Bravo Team waited in ambush. When the aliens crowded into the tight space, Bravo opened fire from both sides. The ravine became a slaughterhouse. Meanwhile, Charlie Team had reached the base perimeter. They placed shaped charges on the dome wall, then took cover. The explosion was silent in Titan's atmosphere, but the breach was catastrophic for the aliens inside. Their carefully maintained environment mixed with Titan's toxic exterior. Dozens of aliens died gasping as their atmosphere vented. Delta Team wasn't as lucky. They encountered a group of Nick's shadow walkers and were caught in an ambush. Only 2 operators survived, falling back to join Echo team. Echo had the critical mission, targeting the Kavari commanders. Led by Lieutenant Diane Phillips, they fought their way to the central structure. When their weapons malfunctioned, they picked up alien firearms and kept fighting. When those ran out of power, they used explosives. When the explosives were gone, they fought with their hands. Jake's team finally broke through to the command center, finding Diane's team already there. Half of Echo was dead, but they had the Kavari Queen Commander cornered. The insectoid alien chittered rapidly, its compound eyes reflecting the human's visors. "It's trying to communicate," Diane said. Before they could decide what to do, more alarms sounded. The base's reactor was destabilizing. Charlie team's handiwork. "We need to extract now," Jake ordered. As they retreated, the Kavari Queen Commander watched them with its alien eyes. It didn't understand. By all logic, these humans should have surrendered when their weapons failed. Instead, they had adapted instantly, using the aliens' own technology against them. When cornered, instead of begging for mercy, individual humans had triggered explosives on themselves, taking dozens of mercenaries with them. The Queen sent an emergency transmission to its hive. "These humans do not process risk assessment as we do. They willingly sacrifice themselves for tactical advantage. We cannot defeat an enemy that views death so differently." As the human operators reached their extraction point, Jake did a final count. 27 lost, but the alien staging area was in ruins, its coalition shattered, and over 200 mercenaries dead or captured. By any military standard, losing more than half a force was a devastating defeat. But Jake knew, and the aliens were learning, that humans measured victory differently. Earth would send more operators. They would keep coming, keep adapting, keep fighting until they won. On the extraction ship, Jake reviewed the mission data. Despite the losses, they had gained priceless intelligence from the Kavari Command Center. Most importantly, they had sent a message to the galaxy's mercenaries. Humanity would not be easy prey. The ship accelerated away from Titan, leaving behind a burning alien base. Word would spread quickly through mercenary channels. Human special forces didn't just defeat you. They made you question everything you thought you knew about warfare. Major Diane Phillips stood on the observation deck of the lunar base, watching Earth glow blue in the distance. The past year had been one of intense transformation. After the Titan mission, she had been promoted and given command of a new special operations unit. The Phantoms, as they were unofficially called, had a different mission than previous human forces. Rather than simply defeat alien mercenaries in battle, they were tasked with breaking the mercenaries' will to fight humans at all. "Major, the prisoners are ready for your inspection," said Captain Frank Adams, her second in command. Diane nodded and followed him to the secure detention area. Inside were 12 aliens, 4 Draxians, 5 Volgars, and 3 Nicks. All had been captured during recent skirmishes throughout the solar system. Diane stopped in front of the cell holding the senior Draxian. "Has he been cooperative?" Frank nodded. "More than expected. Their mercenary code apparently values survival over loyalty." "Good." Diane studied the reptilian alien. "Make sure this one is among those we release tomorrow." Frank looked surprised. "Release, ma'am? These are enemy combatants." "They're messengers now," Diane said. "Everything we've learned about these mercenary species tells us they fight for profit, not survival. We're going to give them a reason to find other clients." Over the next week, Diane's team prepared for Operation Nightmare. Intelligence gathered from the captured aliens had revealed something crucial. Most mercenary species shared a psychological trait. They approached combat as a business transaction. The risk of death was acceptable if the payment was high enough. Humans, the aliens, had observed, fought differently. Humans would accept suicidal odds for non-material rewards like loyalty, honor, or simply to protect each other. This fundamental difference became the foundation of Diane's strategy. "Review your assignments," Diane told her team of 30 operators. "Remember, This mission isn't about killing enemies. It's about creating a story they'll tell others. The Phantoms deployed to Ganymede, Jupiter's largest moon. Intelligence had confirmed that a major mercenary outpost had been established there, staging area for potential attacks on human settlements. Unlike previous operations, the Phantoms didn't try to hide their approach. They wanted to be seen. Their ships landed openly, 5 kilometers from the alien base. The aliens observed the humans curiously. Through their surveillance equipment, they watched as the humans formed a circle around something the aliens couldn't see. The humans appeared to be performing some kind of ritual. "What are they doing?" asked a Volgar commander watching the display from the safety of the base. "Unknown," replied a Draxian tactical officer. "Possibly a religious ceremony before battle." What the aliens were seeing was carefully staged. Diane's team had meticulously created a scene that would trigger the aliens' anthropological studies of human history. The operators smeared their armor with red liquid that resembled blood. They arranged captured alien weapons in patterns on the ground. They chanted in unison, nonsense words designed to sound ancient and ominous. None of these rituals had any actual tactical purpose. They were calculated performances. After 3 hours of this display, the Phantoms began their advance on the alien base. They moved slowly, in formation, their weapons held in ceremonial poses rather than combat-ready positions. "They're not attempting to conceal their approach," the Draxian tactical officer noted with confusion. "Standard doctrine would suggest an ambush, but they're inviting us to fire first." The Volgar commander gave the order to engage. Defense turrets opened fire on the approaching humans. The Phantoms scattered, finding cover with practiced efficiency. Yet even in combat, they continued their psychological operation. They left strange symbols drawn on rocks near fallen alien fighters. They collected and arranged the bodies of enemy dead in ritual formations. They called out to each other with code phrases designed to sound like religious invocations. The actual combat lasted 6 hours. The Phantoms suffered minor casualties, 3 injured, none killed. The alien defenders lost 17 fighters before retreating to their main defensive position. As night fell on Ganymede, Diane's team enacted the next phase of the plan. They allowed themselves to be discovered while conducting another ceremony. The aliens observed as the humans appeared to be blessing their firearms and painting themselves with strange symbols. The scene was reported back to mercenary command centers throughout the system. The description was enhanced with each telling, growing more disturbing with each iteration. The next morning, when the aliens expected the humans to resume their attack, they instead found the Phantoms gone. Their camp was abandoned except for a bizarre arrangement of alien armor pieces, formed into a shape that resembled a human skull when viewed from above. The message was clear without a single word being exchanged. "We can reach you whenever we want. We don't fight like you do. We don't think like you do." 3 days later, a small group of captured mercenaries was released from human custody. They had been treated well, but subjected to carefully designed psychological operations. They were shown historical videos of ancient Earth warriors, Vikings, Aztecs, Zulu, Maori, performing war rituals. They were told stories about human special forces traditions and supposed secret combat doctrines. None of it was true, but the aliens had no way of knowing that. The released mercenaries spread these stories throughout their networks. The tales grew with each retelling. Human special forces became something mythical. Warriors who fought for reasons no mercenary could understand, who conducted blood rituals before battle, who collected trophies from fallen enemies. Over the next 5 months, Diane's team conducted similar operations throughout the solar system. They never caused mass casualties. They didn't need to. The psychological impact of their campaigns was far more effective than conventional military victories. Mercenary. Companies began charging triple their standard rates for operations against humans. Many refused such contracts entirely. The Galactic Consortium, which had been orchestrating the mercenary attacks, found itself unable to recruit qualified fighters for solar system operations. During a pivotal engagement on Callisto, Diane's team allowed themselves to be recorded by alien surveillance while placing Earth military patches on the bodies of particularly challenging opponents. The gesture was meant as respect for worthy adversaries, but the aliens interpreted it as a form of claiming territory or marking kills. The footage spread rapidly through mercenary networks. New contracts against humans dropped by 80%. In the following month, it's working, Frank told Diane as they reviewed the latest intelligence. They're afraid of us, not just our weapons or tactics, but something deeper. Diane nodded. They fight for pay. We fight for each other. It's a force multiplier no technology can match. A Draxian mercenary leader, in a private communication, later intercepted by human intelligence, summarized the growing sentiment. They're not fighting for credits or resources or territory. They fight like their entire species is always on the brink of extinction, even when they're winning. How do you defeat an enemy like that? The answer, spreading silently through the ranks of the galaxy's hired guns, was simple. You don't. You avoid human special forces at all costs. 5 years had passed since the aliens first attacked humans on Europa. Earth had changed in ways no one could have predicted. Nations that once pointed nuclear weapons at each other now worked together to defend the planet. The technology captured from alien mercenaries had accelerated human development by decades. Commander Ryan Garcia stood on the bridge of the Indomitable, humanity's first true deep space vessel. At 35, Ryan was young for such an important command, but he had earned it. He had fought in the battles of Europa, Mars, and Titan. He carried scars from each engagement and memories of friends lost. Final checks complete, Commander, said Lieutenant Carol Weber, his executive officer. We're ready to make the jump. Ryan nodded. The Indomitable carried the best weapons Earth could produce, many reverse-engineered from captured alien technology. But its real strength was its crew, especially the 40 members of the Special Operations Team, all veterans of previous encounters with alien mercenaries. Take us out, Lieutenant, Ryan ordered. The Indomitable's engines flared, and the massive ship accelerated beyond the orbit of Neptune. Their mission was clear: find the homeworld of the mercenary coordinators and negotiate from a position of strength. After 5 years of fighting, Earth wanted peace, but knew it would only come through strength. Preparing for jump, Carol announced. The ship's experimental drive engaged. Stars blurred around them as the Indomitable tore through the fabric of space. When the view stabilized again, they were in an unknown system, light years from Earth. Jump. Successful, Carol reported. All systems operational. Ryan studied the tactical display. The system had 5 planets orbiting a yellow star similar to Earth's sun. The third planet showed signs of advanced civilization, artificial satellites, space stations, and ship traffic. Keep us at the edge of the system, Ryan ordered. Passive scans only. Let's see what we're dealing with before we announce ourselves. What they discovered over the next few hours was unexpected. This wasn't a unified civilization, but rather a sector in turmoil. The third planet served as a hub for various mercenary companies, a neutral ground where contracts were negotiated and crews recruited. Even more surprising was what they learned from intercepted communications. News of human combat prowess had spread far beyond their solar system. The term human special forces was mentioned frequently, always with tones of respect or fear. They're telling stories about us, Carol said, listening to translated alien chatter. Exaggerated tales of human operators single-handedly defeating entire mercenary squads. Ryan smiled. Diane Phillips' psychological warfare campaign had been more effective than anyone could have imagined. The mercenaries had created their own myths about human capabilities, each story more fantastic than the last. Commander, called out the YAB sensor officer. We have multiple ships on approach. They've detected us. Ryan studied the tactical display. 5 large vessels were moving toward the Indomitable's position, weapon systems powering up. Identify, Ryan ordered. Mixed fleet, replied the sensor officer. Designs match Draxian Volgar Nix in 2 unknown configurations. They're forming a blockade pattern. Ryan considered his options. The Indomitable could outgun any single ship in the approaching fleet, but 5 against 1 were difficult odds. He could retreat, jump back to Earth space, and return with more ships. But retreat wasn't why they had come. "Open a channel," Ryan ordered. Before communication could be established, the alien fleet opened fire. Energy beams lanced through space toward the Indomitable. The human ship's shields flared as they absorbed the attack. "Return fire?" asked the weapons officer. Ryan shook his head. "No. Prepare the dropships. Special operations team to launch bay." Carol looked at him in disbelief. "Sir, you're not sending operators against capital ships?" "That's exactly what I'm doing," Ryan replied. "And I'm going with them." 20 minutes later, Ryan was in his combat suit, briefing his team in the Indomitable's launch bay. 40 operators listened as he outlined a plan so audacious only humans would attempt it. "We'll drop between their ships using their own vessels as cover against each other's weapons," Ryan explained. "Alpha team with me. We'll take their command ship. Bravo through Delta will target the other vessels. Our goal is to capture, not destroy." The plan was insane by any conventional military doctrine. Boarding actions against hostile capital ships were considered suicidal, even with vastly superior numbers. Ryan was proposing to do it with just 40 operators against 5 enemy vessels. "We'll be broadcasting in the clear," Ryan added. "Let them hear us. Let them hear that we're enjoying this." The operators grinned. They understood. Fear was their most powerful weapon. Ryan's dropship launched first, accelerating toward the Draxian command vessel. Enemy point defense systems tracked them, but the small craft was too fast, too erratic in its approach. It crashed into the Draxian ship's hull, magnetic clamps securing it in place. Ryan was first through the breach, his weapon firing precisely. 2 Draxian guards fell before they could raise an alarm. The rest of Alpha Team poured in behind him, securing the entry point. "Command center should be 3 levels up," said Sergeant Dan Price, checking his captured schematics. Ryan nodded. "Let's move," and switched to open comms. As they fought their way through the ship, they deliberately broadcast their communications so the aliens could hear them. "2 more at the junction," called out Corporal Kelly Ward, her voice calm despite the energy bolts flying past her. "I got them," Ryan replied, firing a burst that dropped both aliens. "That makes 5 for me. You're falling behind, Kelly." "Just warming up, Commander," she replied with a laugh. "Bet I reach double digits before you do." The aliens heard these exchanges with growing horror. The humans were treating combat like a game, keeping score, making jokes while their comrades fell around them. Alpha Team fought their way to the command center, suffering 3 casualties, but killing 17 Draxians in the process. When they breached the final door, they found the Draxian commander and his bridge crew waiting, weapons aimed. "Surrender your vessel," Ryan demanded, his rifle pointed at the commander. The Draxian hissed, his reptilian features twisting with anger. "Who are you to demand anything, human?" Ryan smiled. "I'm Commander Ryan Garcia, Earth Defense Force, and you've already lost." As if on cue, reports flooded in from the other teams. Bravo had secured the Vulgar vessel. Charlie had taken the Nyx ship after heavy fighting. Delta was still battling for control of the 4th ship, but had secured essential systems. Only the 5th unknown vessel remained hostile, and it was now surrounded by 4 captured ships. The Draxian commander stared at Ryan in disbelief. "Impossible. No boarding action could succeed against prepared defenders. The odds—" "We don't care about the odds," Ryan interrupted. "Now order that last ship to stand down, or we'll demonstrate how humans deal with stubborn opponents." The Draxian hesitated, then gave the order. The final vessel powered down its weapons. In under an hour, 40 human operators had captured 5 alien capital ships with minimal damage. 17 humans had died in the assault, a considerable loss, but one that secured a victory that would echo across the galaxy. After securing their prisoners, Ryan did something that sealed human Special Forces reputation forever. He ordered his team to leave behind Earth military patches on the bodies of particularly challenging opponents, a sign of respect that was completely misinterpreted as marking territory. 3 months later, the Indomitable returned to Earth with 5 captured alien vessels and news that would change human history. The Galactic Consortium had agreed to formal diplomatic relations with Earth, and recognized human territorial sovereignty throughout the solar system. The secret addendum to the treaty included one notable clause. Consortium members were forbidden from employing mercenaries in any conflict involving humans. In the shadowy bars and outposts where the galaxy's mercenaries gathered, human special forces became the benchmark against which all warriors were measured and found wanting. Veterans who survived encounters with humans displayed their scars proudly, while refusing any contract that might put them in the path of Earth's elite operators again. Years later, a young Draxian recruit asked a scarred mercenary captain why everyone feared humans so much. The captain touched the burn mark on his face, a souvenir from the Battle of Titan. "We fight for money," he said. "They fight for each other. That's why we avoid human special forces at all costs." The young Draxian looked confused. "But they're just one species from one planet. How dangerous can they be?" The captain laughed bitterly. "Pray you never find out."